fellow Marylander, Shawne Merriman, our guest on today's edition of the Helipod, one of the great linebackers in the University of Maryland and San Diego Charger football history. And now he's doing all kinds of stuff, man. He's the CEO of the Lights Out brand. He's working at Fox. He's doing some local TV stuff covering the Chargers. He has his own extreme fighting MMA brand that he's running. I think there's a NASCAR team too. What are you not doing right now, dude?
Sleeping, which I'm tired right now. But it's been cool. It's been cool, especially lately. I've been lucky because I have so many things going on, and then we're in this kind of pandemic. Certain things shut down and other things pick back up. So it's been a help to have a variety of things to really have my hands into.
What is the? Tell me about this Lights Out Extreme Fighting. It's been on hiatus as many sports leagues have been, but what prompted you to get into that?
Well, it's funny. I started doing MMA between my first and second year in the NFL. Training. Yeah, training during the off season. So someone told me that I can work my hands, get better hand movement, and get more violent, being an outside linebacker and pass rusher. They said, get violent with your hands. And you know what? I think boxing and MMA would help.
Right.
So I grew up in Maryland and D.C., where tons of boxers. I had a few uncles that are professional boxers, cousins. So I grew up around boxing, but MMA wasn't as big on the East Coast as it was in San Diego, so in L.A. So my first day training MMA was with Jay Glazer. Glaze got me in the gym, in Randy Couture's gym. So I walked in and I thought that, they're gonna work my hands a little bit, get me better. And I walk in and Randy Couture standing right there. And the first thing I thought about in my head is, I'm not sparring Randy Couture today. That's just not happening.
Hell no. So I got better during the off season. Then I started to do Muay Thai. I started to work on the ground a little bit more. And every off season, it's kind of transitioned that into football, and it helped me be a better pass rusher. It is an unbelievable sport. Having been involved with it for the last 2-3 years, calling the Contender Series for the UFC, my appreciation for mixed martial arts is so much further down the road than it was when I started. To me, boxing is almost boring now because you even a good boxing match you're watching, all right, that's cool, but they don't have to worry about the leg kicks. They don't have to worry about the knee to the chin. Right. They don't have to worry about the spinning back fist or the elbow. I mean, it's just a different sport.
Well, one thing I appreciate about boxing still is the skill level, right? I mean, you got these guys who really start out as kids, 6, 7 years old, and so I appreciate the skill. What I love about MMA the most is the discipline part of it. You got so many different disciplines. The Muay Thai is part of it. You got the strikers. You have jiu-jitsu. Right. You have people who are kung fu and karate and just monsters on the ground. And NCAA wrestlers who turn into MMA stars.
Yeah, Daniel Cormier,
DC. And people always ask me all the time why I didn't fight. And I said, guys like DC. That's why I didn't fight, because they've been wrestling for the last 15 years of their life. And if we stand up, I might can hold my own, but the second he want to take me on the ground, then I'm gonna have problems. So, and that's kind of why I got into MMA and why I have Lights Out Extreme Fighting now, is really to help some of these former athletes from other sports transition into MMA. I think that's the best fit. We have Chris McCain, who was a Charger.
I was just reading about him. You've been a huge help to him.
That's right, and I kind of brought him over to MMA. I seen him training on IG, and I looked at him. I said, "Man, look like you can fight a little bit." And I reached out and I said, "Hey, have you ever thought about fighting?" And he said, "Yeah, I have been." And I said, "Well, when you're serious, call me." He called me, and I said, "Well, come out here. I'll set you up in the camp." I never heard from him 3 weeks later, and he showed up in California like, "Hey, where do I go?" And that's how it started.
So that's a true story. He literally landed at LAX and said, "Hey, what am I doing?"
Yeah, and say, "Hey, just let me know what I need to do." And right now he's a 3-0 amateur. And if I had my best bet on him, if he keeps going and has the right mentality and keep working, he'll be a champion, a world champion.
All right, I know you have your own league, but let's get him over and do the Contender Series in UFC, man. That might be good for him.
Well, so it's funny because we are
I wouldn't call it more like a D league, right? I mean,
Yeah, of course.
Because of what we are, we don't like to look at ourselves like that or look at us like a startup. So we're a professional league. But don't get me wrong. I mean, one day we will get on the UFC level. We will get on the Bellator's level. I mean, I spend a lot of time with, Dana's a really good friend of mine. And I spent time with him down at the Super Bowl, and he obviously knows what I'm doing. They actually have about 3 or 4 of our fighters on the last 2 cards.
Oh, really?
For them. Oh, yeah, of course. So we would. So Dana, if you stop taking our damn fighters, that'd be nice. But it's nice to see the guys having the opportunity, right? Because they put so much time in. I'm a former athlete, and I know how brutal this not only MMA could be, but how football used to be, and you want to see these guys successful in any way. So if they have a better opportunity somewhere else, I tell them to go. I told Chris, I said, I'll drive you there myself one day if that opportunity presented itself.
Well, I'll be curious to follow his journey down the road. A couple of days ago, we wake up in the morning, or I can't remember exactly what time it went down, but Cam Newton to the Patriots. That was one of 2 spots that I thought could be a really good fit, maybe 3 spots. I thought early on, Chicago and Jacksonville should have made a run. Obviously, the Chargers were in the mix a little bit, but he ends up with Bill Belichick in New England. What were your thoughts when you first heard that?
Sick.
It's crazy.
I would say, well,
coming from a classic Patriots hater, self-admitted.
Listen, I am #1 fan club of the Patriots hater. I'll say that any day of the week. But what I do like about that move, right? What I do like for the Patriots anyway. Mm-hmm. You got a healthy, motivated Cam Newton, and that's scary. That's scary because you're getting somebody walking into the door with that hunger he had when he first came into the league. I got a chance to talk to Cam. This is way before. This is around the Super Bowl time down in Miami. We were eating down there at a restaurant, and I seen him. I walked over to him, and he started to smile because he knew I was coming to talk to him about the Chargers.
Right.
And I kind of kneeled down. I was sitting there talking to him for 5 minutes, and he would have loved to come to the Chargers, but he thought at the time that they were super high on Tom Brady. And when that was the case, that he knew he was going to end up there, but he also didn't think that the Panthers was going to let him go.
Really?
No, he didn't at all. He didn't think that was going to happen. Not that he wanted to go anywhere, but he said that, look, it doesn't matter anyway. The Panthers.
I'm under contract.
I'm under contract, and they're not going to let me go. And so when that happened, I was very shocked. Not only from talking to him, but just seeing in the manner that the Panthers did it. I mean, this is a guy who's been a superstar for you for a long time.
MVP, face of the franchise, yeah.
And he's, went through a couple injuries, had some bad years, tried to play through it, and just never really got back healthy again. And one thing I always say to people when you have a great player who just fall off the way Cam did, like an Andrew Luck when he had his injuries, they don't fall off because they can't play. They fall off because they're injured. The mental aspect is what make you the player you are, not just because you physically can't play anymore. So I always knew that Cam Newton was hurt. Now, what I disagree with, what is kind of sitting under my skin a little bit as a former athlete and as a businessman, is him taking a contract so low. Or even a hurt Cam Newton, in my opinion, is worth $13 to $15 million a year, in my opinion.
Well, Marcus Mariota, who is going there to be the backup in Oakland, is getting more money than Cam Newton, who will be the starter in New England.
Right.
But that's the reason it worked, right? That's the only reason the Patriots said, hey, we'll make this happen. They had a limited amount of cap space. I think it was under $2 million.
Right.
And once Cam agreed to that deal, they could make it work. And in my mind, this is best case scenario for Cam Newton. He's off basically an entire season. He's been working out in the off season, but he hasn't had to do anything in terms of OTAs. He is going to be as fresh and healthy as he has been in years, and he's going to be able to go up and work with an offensive genius in Josh McDaniel and maybe become as good of a quarterback as he can possibly be. And look at what Ryan Tannehill did last year. He signed a $118 million contract after starting 10, 11 regular season games for the Titans.
And you're right. And I think that's what Cam is setting up to do. And, the best revenge against any team or anybody, period, is to win. Right, and you're going to win some games up there. You're going to put yourself in a position to play in the playoffs play in an AFC Championship game, and possibly win a Super Bowl. All those things are possible, by going to New England since the last, decade or so.
Right.
So, just with that said, I think that Cam has put himself in a position that even if he didn't get a new contract from New England, he's put himself in a position because they're going to win games. He's going to be healthy. He's going to look good. He's going to get a big contract somewhere else. So he was smart by betting on himself. I would love to see him get, $14 to $16 million just to because he's Cam Newton and he's walking into your locker room as a player coach, as a leader, as somebody who is going to be ultimately respected walking into the locker room. And he deserved that, but he's betting on himself, so that's good.
Headscarves, hats, pastels, and the hoodie. That's going to be an interesting combination, isn't it? I mean, this is going to be fascinating to watch how this plays out, and I think it's going to be great. Listen, he doesn't have the weapons. He had better weapons in Carolina offensively. Right. I mean, shoot, you look at some of those guys. DJ Moore is a better receiver than – I love Julian Edelman. Maybe my favorite player in the NFL.
Right.
But DJ Moore more upside as a receiver and operates on the outside quite often. Curtis Samuel and Christian McCaffrey. He doesn't have anybody like Christian McCaffrey to throw to. So you look at the receiving core there, the tight ends. It's a far cry from what it once was. When Gronk and Edelman was a little bit younger, and you had like Randy Moss way back in the day. Obviously, there's going to be some work to be done there, but I can't wait. I can't wait to see how it plays out. And as somebody who covers the NFL like we both do now in the media, this is, to me, as intriguing a storyline, if not more interesting, than Tom Brady in Tampa.
100%. 100%, because, you know that there's a kind of always going to be a clash between Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. And one or the other want to show each other up. I mean, period. Tom Brady wants to go to Tampa and show that he can still play and he didn't need the Bill Belichick and the Patriots organization. And how does Bill Belichick go by and combat that? By bringing in Cam Newton. It's to me the ultimate quiet slap in the face that you can do. Is like, look what I'm about to do. I got Cam Newton for $7.5 million. We're going to come in here and show that it wasn't you, that I can take a coming off injury, haven't played in a year, Cam Newton, and make him a bigger star than Tom Brady. And that's Bill Belichick's mindset going forward.
How crazy is it that you lose an MVP and you replace him with an MVP? I don't think that's ever happened before. Chargers, draft Justin Herbert. They got Tyrod there. Would it make sense to sign Cap now?
Well, I think it makes sense to bring Cap in for a workout.
Yeah.
And let him compete for that third spot. And whether he gets a spot or not, I think there's going to be enough for other teams to see that he can still play. And that's what this thing is about. It's about seeing, because he hasn't played in so long, it's seeing if Cap can still go. And I'm not, and I said earlier a few weeks ago when everything first came out and the protests and things that's going on here in this country got really, really big. And it's not about giving him just giving him something. He deserves an opportunity. The guy can play, and I'm looking at all 32 teams. There's at least 6 teams right now that Cap can back up a quarterback, second or third string. He deserves to be on the roster. He deserves a shot. Now, will he get it? We don't know. No one's seen him play in a few years, but he at least deserves a shot. And I think that the Chargers organization will be a great organization to do it. Anthony Lynn is a hell of a coach, and he's even talked about some of his encounters with police over his lifetime. And I think that not only makes a good story, but I think that Coach Anthony Lynn could be a mentor for Cap and how to handle situations going forward and be there for someone. And I think it can really work out, man. And going into a new stadium, I talked earlier about Tom Brady. People were wanting to bring Tom Brady to LA, and it's about selling tickets.
Star power.
Star power. Hey. Cap, if Cap comes on the team now, I'm not saying he's Tom Brady, but what I'm saying is he's going to bring out a huge fan base because even if he's not playing, if he's not your starting quarterback, people will want to support the organization for giving him an opportunity. Now, you talk about selling tickets.
Yeah.
That can help fill up your stadium.
Well, and who knows whether, stadiums are going to be full this year, how many tickets they're going to sell this year. But I think it's interesting, the dynamic with the Chargers in LA competing with the Rams. And you're kind of caught in the middle sometimes between the cities of San Diego. I mean, I saw a little back and forth on Twitter with you and some San Diego fans.
Oh,
you know?
that's always.
Oh, UNLT, man, you're just on board with the team. You're all LA guys now. There's no love in San Diego anymore. That must be tough because I know you love San Diego,
right.
and I know you loved your time there. You live here part-time in LA, and you love it here. But what is that like when you're kind of caught in the middle between that fan base down there and the organization up here?
Well, it's not really bad. We only hear from the bad ones, right? We only hear from the ones that's most loudest because I just came from San Diego last week. I'm there every other week.
Right.
And that's not the feeling that I get down there. No one comes and say, "Oh yeah, you're up in LA, you're
They're still showing you love.
Always. That's always going to be home. You know, mind you, I was 20 when I got drafted. I was 21 as a young adult the first time in San Diego. So being a young man and growing up and paying taxes and paying bills and learning kind of the ropes of life, I learned it in San Diego.
Right.
So that's always going to be my home. Now, will I be here for work? Yeah. Will I be here because of certain opportunities and things that I have going on? Absolutely. But San Diego will always be my home. But it is nice to go back and forth with some of those trolls once in a while.
I know. I love seeing it. And I love how active you are on social media. So often guys will post something and they'll never respond to anybody. But
Yeah.
you're going back and forth with tons of people on Twitter and on Instagram. And
Oh, yeah.
do you just take like an hour or two a day when you're bored, you know, between running 4 different companies and say, all right, let me just hop on here for a minute, see what's going on.
You know when I do it is sometimes I'm just sitting on the toilet, man, real quick, or I got
Too
a
much
quick
information.
break.
Good Lord,
I'm
Merriman.
sitting on the toilet, or I'm eating or something, and I'll say a few things, and even the ones that are, I guess, haters or whatever. Sometimes people just want attention, and they want you to talk back to them,
Yeah.
and that's enough for them to say, oh, okay, well, he's cool, right?
Right.
So yeah, you got to own people once in a while, man. That's what it's about. Own them.
I love it. I love the back and forth. All right, let's get into the playing career. That's I've started talking a little bit about the recruiting stories because I'm just so fascinated by them, almost as much as the rookie year stories that we're going to get into here in a minute. So, you came out of Frederick Douglass High School in Upper Marlboro.
Yeah.
You were a 3-star defensive end, and you ended up at Maryland when Fridge was there, when Ralph Friedgen was the head coach. And that was, listen, Maryland hasn't been good in a while. But your first couple years there, 11-win season, 10-win season. Tell me how and why you ended up Maryland, and where else did you take your visits?
Well, I went to a summer camp, a 3-day camp at the University of Maryland my sophomore year when I was at Frederick Douglass High School.
Okay.
And I went there and just shredded the whole entire camp.
As a sophomore?
As a sophomore.
So this would be like the summer before your junior year?
Just summer before my junior year. I was still 6 feet, 170-pound middle linebacker. And they moved me up to the seniors because I just couldn't be with anybody that was my year. So they moved me up to seniors, and I'm just shredding the camp. I'm walking off the field, and at the time, Coach Vanderlyn.
Ron Vanderlyn.
Yeah. was the coach. And that coaching staff, along with Mike Loxley. Mm-hmm. And they verbally offered me a scholarship walking off the field.
As a 170-pound linebacker?
170-pound middle linebacker. And, I had the frame. They knew I was going to get bigger and whatnot. And that my junior year is when I kind of hit that growth spurt when I was, 6'2", 6'3", 200 pounds, 205 pounds.
Right.
So it was an easy choice for me. And I had letters from just about every major college in the country. But it was easy for me because I wanted to stay home. I wanted to stay home because my high school coaches, my family, my friends, I wanted everybody to be able to come and see me play.
Right.
And it was important for me because I grew up in Prince George's County, Maryland. We grew up in bad times there. And I wanted to kind of set a precedent that, kids, if you grow up here, this is your home. And to show other kids to stay home, this is your hometown, stay home. So that DC, Maryland, Virginia area, I wanted to kind of set the tone for guys who you don't get big time. You don't get rated in the country. You don't become a 3 and 4 and 5-star recruit. And then all of a sudden go to Alabama.
Right.
Or go to, Florida or Florida State. You stay home. And that for me was important because I knew that after that we had I was the first Division I college player ever from my high school at the time. No one had ever won D1.
Is that right?
Yeah. No one has ever won D1.
Wow.
And I wanted to set the tone. And after me, it was one D1 player just about every year, sometimes 2 or 3. So that really made me feel good to be able to do that.
So did you take any trips to anywhere else, or did you
Nope.
just know the whole time that you were going to Maryland?
I verbally committed my sophomore year, and I never took one visit.
And was it because of, obviously you wanted to stay home, but was it because of Loxley? Was he your primary recruiter at the time?
Yeah, absolutely. Mike, for me, Locks was, like an uncle figure or a family figure that you knew that you can trust him, and he had your back at all times. So whatever he was telling you, you can believe. And for me, coming from where I came from in PG County, he was from Washington, D.C.
Right.
And so he knew the area, and he knew kids like me who came from the area. And I felt comfortable with that. And still to this day, we have a great relationship, and I'm happy he's back in Maryland.
Yeah, I hope they can turn that around and have some success there. You go after a great career at Maryland. I mean, I just saw a poll online. I think you were voted the second best linebacker in Maryland history. I think the first one was it Henderson?
EJ.
EJ. Must have been EJ. He stayed there. I think he played 4 years.
4 years, yeah.
So you come out in the 05 draft, and that was the draft. I don't think we'll ever see another draft like this. So that was the Alex Smith draft. Ronnie Brown, Braylon Edwards, Cedric Benson, and Cadillac Williams were the top 5. So you had 3 running backs go in the top 5.
Right.
That will never happen again.
No.
That will never happen
No.
again. Do you remember that draft process and what that was like, going through the combine and the workouts and all that type of stuff?
Yeah. So when I was a junior, I didn't know where I was going to go in the draft, and they have this process that you can send your information into the NFL, and the scouts and teams send you back where they think you're going to go. So once they told me that I can possibly be going somewhere in the first round, I said, yeah, I'll see you guys another time. I'll see you guys another time. Because, look, I knew that it was my time to go, right? And once that I had the first round grade, that I knew it was my time to go. And I ended up signing with Gary Wishard, agent.
Big agent, yeah.
Yeah, had Jason Taylor, Terrell Suggs, Dwight Freeney. And he called us his freaks. He said he only
signed pass rushers.
He only signed with Bullock,
yeah.
Keith Bullock. He only signed freaks. He only signed freakish players, and I was one of those freakish players. God rest his soul. He passed away some years ago. But I moved out here to LA. First time being in LA. He lived in Pasadena, and he had me working out here. But also when I came out, myself, Pac-Man Jones, and Darren Sproles and Travis Johnson, we all signed with him.
Okay.
All freakish.
That's a hell of a class.
All freakish guys.
Wow.
And so I was coming out here, and I was training with these guys twice a day. We were training for the combine, and it was probably one of the best shapes I've been in my life. And then, I jumped out. I didn't do much at the combine. I just did the bench press. I think I did the vertical jump and whatnot. But my pro day, I just shattered. I showed up and I was 6'4.5", 6'5", 275, and I ran like a 4.58 and a 4.60 in the 40.
Stupid.
And I just remember the jaws dropping, and it was like, okay, yep, yep. But yeah, it was cool. I actually thought I was getting drafted by Dallas.
What pick were they?
They were 11. They picked DeMarcus.
DeMarcus Ware.
DeMarcus Ware.
Yeah.
But I took a visit to Dallas before I got drafted, and Jerry Jones and Bill Parcells brought me up in the room. While all the other draft 10, 15 guys down there said, Shawne, come upstairs. Jerry wants to talk to you. So I'm sitting up in there, and I'm kind of shaking my head, and they said, look, if you're around, we don't think you're going to be around by the 11th pick. But if you are, we're going to select you. And so my family and friends, I rented a big place back home in Maryland, and my family, friends, and coaches came over. I didn't go to the draft because I didn't want to Aaron Rodgers situation.
Yeah.
So I stayed home, and my family, friends, everybody got Dallas Cowboy hats, and they ready to go. And they said, with the 11th pick of the 2005 draft, we select DeMarcus Ware. And jaws just dropped, right? I mean, it was just dropped. And that's Marty Schottenheimer called me the next pick. Marty Schottenheimer, the Chargers called me. And I also took a visit to the Chargers, and they told me the same thing. A.J. Smith, who was the general manager at the time, said that we got the 12th pick. We don't think you're going to be around. They thought I was going somewhere in the top 5, top 8. If you're around, we're going to select you. And sure enough, Shotty called me and was a Charger.
So did you grow up in D.C.? What I think a lot of people don't know is that if somebody has a favorite football team and they're from the Washington, D.C. area, it's generally the Cowboys. There are a ton of Cowboys fans.
Oh, it's Cowboys or Redskins.
Right, one of the two.
That's it. It's one of the two. And I took visits to both. I also went to go see the Redskins. The Redskins had, I believe, the ninth pick that year, and they got Carlos Rogers.
Okay. Corner out of Auburn.
Yeah. So I went there, and so that's why everybody thought I was going to be gone before someone in the top 5, top 8.
Okay.
Because they knew that for sure that I would either go to the Redskins at the ninth pick, and I visited the Lions with Mariucci.
Mooch.
Look, let me tell you a funny story about Mooch. Mooch spent all of 2.5 minutes with me when I came out there. I mean, literally. I flew out there to Detroit for my visit, and Mooch loved him to death, man. He spent about 2.5 minutes with me. I said, I just came out here to Detroit, right?
I'm here to see you, Mooch.
Right.
Where the hell are you going?
Exactly. But I visit these teams thinking I was going to go somewhere to these one of 4 teams in the top 10, top 12. And I was fortunate enough to get drafted by the Chargers.
Quick break right now to tell you about our presenting sponsor, Viori. Athletic leisure wear at its finest. I have been wearing this gear for upwards of 2 years now, and I absolutely love it. It is edgy, it's cool, and it is everything you need to work out, to hang out, to look great, to feel great. I love the material of their shirts. Soft, easy, maneuverable, looks awesome. They have great hoodies as well. And their joggers are just flying off the shelves right now because everybody working from home. So they're super comfortable. They also have what's called the Ponto Pant, or the Ponto Pant in English. Kind of like a jogger, but not really. And then their shorts are just off the chain. In my opinion, the best shorts on the market. I love the core short. I talk about them every week. They have a liner, so you just slip them on and they're good to go. VioriClothing.com, VUORI clothing.com/helipod to get 20% off right now. I promise you it's worth it. VioriClothing.com/helipod, VUORI clothing.com/helipod, 20% off now. Do it. I promise you won't be disappointed. Now back to the pod.
Yeah, that was a good landing spot for you because they're coming off. You go 12th overall. They're coming off a 12-4 year, right, and a loss to the Jets in the playoffs. And
right.
They have Breeze and LT and Antonio Gates and Low Neal on offense. But defense, they were lacking star power, right? I thought they had a couple of good inside linebackers in Donnie Edwards and Randall Godfrey, but they were both 32 when you get there. So you get drafted. And here you are feeling great about yourself. You're coming off putting up these unbelievable numbers at the Combine. And then you get there for your first rookie minicamp. What do you remember that being like?
Well, I held out because of a contract situation I had involving an injury clause. So I came in like 2 hours later. 2 weeks later.
Okay.
And the first day that I got there was fan day. And it was our first day of pads.
Is this training camp now?
This is training camp.
Okay.
So the whole time I'm reading articles about how I think I'm a big shot and I don't want to be there and I think I'm better than everybody else. And I'm just like, look, man, this is contract stuff. I'm not trying, I'm not the first, I'm not the last. It's going to be involved in a contract dispute. But I saw all the madness. I saw the talk and I was reading the papers and stuff like that. And I was really, really pissed, right? First day, we get pads. When my first day there, 3,500 fans out there practice. It's night practice, the lights are on. So I said, okay, remember all that you guys talked? You remember all that everybody talked about? And we went 101 drills against the running backs and fullbacks. And the person who I went up against was Low Neal.
Oh, no, you don't want to go against Low Neal.
So let me tell you. So me and Low Neal, we lined up. And mind you, the 101 pass rushing drills against the running back and fullbacks, you're supposed to do position moves, like swing moves or go around and get to a quarterback. Mm-hmm. You're not supposed to run through them. But now I'm pissed because of all the things that have been said while I was gone.
Right.
So the first day we lined up and I run right through Low Neal. Right through him. Went right through Low Neal. It sounded like a thunderstorm, right? The impact was so deep and it was so big. You just heard the crowd, ooh, right? Stupid young rookie I was. Because,
Because he has the biggest, hardest head of any fullback in NFL history.
So Low Neal's laying on his back. I mean, he's pissed off now. He's embarrassed.
And he'd been around. I mean, at this time, Lorenzo Neal, one of the best fullbacks in NFL history, was probably what, 10, 12 years into his career. Yeah.
And so he's pissed off. And I'm just young and dumb. I don't know what's going on in my life. I'm trying to figure it out. Low Neal, someone else was going. I went back in line. Low Neal pushed the running back out the way. He lined back up. So I'm thinking in my head, young dumb rookie. I'm big shot. The crowd just behind me in there, ooh and on and all this other stuff. I go. I'm gonna run through him again, right? I'm gonna do it again. I tried to run through Low Neal, and he stood me up like the Statue of Liberty, and I've never been hit like this before in my life. Dan, I felt like a blood rush to my ears and face and my fingers. And I said, oh my, what was that? What was that just happened? And that's when I started to think in my head of like, you just ran over Low Neal. What did you think was going to happen?
Right.
And after that, we came up with a thing called brother-in-law, that we would never do that again.
Yeah, you and Lorenzo.
Yeah. Because we would literally start to hit each other. We had to make a truce. Because the last person you want to ever see is Low Neal. And I've been against Strong, for Seattle, the fullback. I went against Tony Richardson and Ovi and some real guys. And Low Neal it was nothing like him. Low Neal's just on a whole nother level, which he should get into the Hall of Fame soon.
He is just so compact.
Yes.
And I can't even imagine.
He was my workout buddy. When I got there, he was my workout buddy every day after practice. And in his 12th year, in my rookie season, I couldn't keep up with Low Neal.
That's incredible.
Yeah, he was just on another level.
I mean, he played almost 20 years in the league as a fullback, which is just insane. So that rookie year, that was your welcome to the Chargers moment. You didn't start, I don't believe, until week 7 of your rookie year. Was there a welcome to the NFL moment in a regular season game, the first month or so of the regular season?
Yeah, I think I got my first sack was on Ben Roethlisberger, I think it was, on a Sunday night or Monday night football game.
Right.
And the reason why I didn't start because Ben Lieber, who went to Minnesota and played linebacker, he was there. And he did everything right, no mistakes. I mean, he was
smart guy. I've called a game with Ben Lieber.
Yeah,
I know Ben.
I mean, Ben, and I learned. See, I was back learning because I didn't know. So when I got in, I came into camp late, and the playbook it looked like an encyclopedia. I couldn't figure it out. I was trying to figure it out. The coach Wade Phillips and John Pagano and Greg Minuski, who's all my coaches, brought me into a room after practice after I could not line up. I didn't know what to do, and they said, "Look, we want you to do one thing: see ball, go ball."
That was it.
And I said, what do you mean? They said, no, we want you to see ball, go ball. Wherever the ball is, you go to it, and we'll line you up. So that was for the first 3 to 6, like the first 6 weeks.
Right.
That was my responsibility. They would line me up, and if I heard my name, I rushed. If I didn't hear my name, I would do whatever the cover drop was. And they simplified it for me so I can understand and catch up with what was going on because I came into camp late. But Ben Lieber was so damn helpful because he was one of the most intelligent players I've ever played with. He didn't make any mistakes. I mean, he did everything right. If he was supposed to be in a gap, he was there. And so I said, oh, okay, well, maybe I can get on the field if I do what Ben does. And I ended up winning a starting job from him, which it was going to happen. They drafted me in the first round.
Right.
I won a starting job, and I started my first game against Philly. And my first sack as a starter was against Donovan McNabb. And the left tackle was Roman Oben.
Oh, wow.
Who ended up playing for the Chargers, for some time. So, I remember all these things vividly. And also John Runyon, who was on the right side, on that right tackle. Oh, my God, yeah. I just talked to John the other day. That was kind of my welcome. I was like, man, I just sacked Donovan McNabb as a starter. That's crazy. Right after the game, my phone was blowing up, and everybody's back home at the crib hitting me up. Oh man, you just sacked. And I did the lights out dance 2 and the whole 9. It was big time. It was big time.
So the lights out dance, was that created in high school, or did you come up with that later?
Yeah. So my sophomore year at Frederick Douglass High School, I knocked out 4 kids in one game. my sophomore year as that
Good
as that
Lord.
170-pound middle linebacker. I mean, I was knocking my shoulders out of place because I wasn't big enough to hit. And I
Right.
was just hitting. And when I knocked the kids out after the game, I had about 20 students come running up to me and they said, "Man, you knocked those guys' lights out." And I said, "Yeah, you know what? Call me lights out." Not thinking it was actually gonna stick, right? So I got to school the next that Monday, and I'm walking through the school, and everybody was calling me lights out. Nobody really called me. Everybody called me lights, and so I ended up going to get this tattoo on my right forearm, this lights out with the switch in the hand. The very next week, and I was like, you know what? I'm lights out. That's it. I'm lights out. That's who I am. My freshman year at the University of Maryland, well, actually it was called Pepco.
Bringing the power?
Breaking the power.
Pepco's the power company in Maryland.
In Maryland.
Sure.
So people didn't know that. So people called me Pep and Lights Out. So when I got to Maryland, I dropped the Pepco
Okay.
and kept Lights Out. But nobody, including E.J. Henderson and all the older guys, they would not call me Lights Out. They refused to.
Oh, I don't blame him.
Yeah.
This young punk coming in here.
Exactly.
Who
That's
does
what
he
they would
think
call
he
me.
is?
That's what they called me. They said, "Who's this young punk coming in thinking we're going to call him Lights Out?" And we had a game against Georgia Tech on ESPN. That was my first primetime game. I was dropping in coverage. A wide receiver was coming across. And I took him clean off his feet, right? It was so loud. I pointed at the light switch, and I'm acting like I'm flicking it up and down. And it's on YouTube. And it was my very first time, and the crowd was going crazy. So I said, you know what? I'm sticking with this, right? I'm sticking with that the whole time. I got on the sideline, and Ralph Friedgen said, "If you ever do that again, you'll never play."
So you had that tat of a light switch back
sophomore
then.
year in high
Sophomore
school.
year. Oh my God. So that's how Lights Out was created. That's interesting because I saw that it was a high school nickname, and I had never asked you that before. You ended up becoming Defensive Rookie of the Year.
Yeah.
And you had 10 sacks, and you didn't even start till week 7. So that offseason after your rookie year, I can only imagine, what were you doing? Just globe-trotting, traveling, meeting chicks everywhere? Like, what was that like?
All the above, all the above. But you know what that did for me was it kind of put me onto a national map.
Right.
Obviously, you coming in, you're the 12th pick overall and stuff like that. But, you know, a lot of people get drafted high and don't do much in the NFL. That's, you know, it happens a lot. But I actually did something. And I became the best at what I did. And I went to the Pro Bowl. And there was only 2 Pro Bowlers over there, I think, at the time, my rookie year. The linebacker from Seattle. Mm-hmm. He was there, too.
As a rookie?
As a rookie.
Right.
So there was only two rookies there. I believe me and him were the only ones.
Okay.
And it was cool because, you know, I walked in at the Pro Bowl, and this is my first time I've asked for an autograph, too, by the way, Peyton Manning. I still got his Pro Bowl practice jersey, too, that he signed for me.
That was the first autograph?
My first autograph I've asked for in my life was from Peyton Manning.
Well, that's a good one to get, coming from a Tennessee guy here. I was at school when Peyton was there. So was that weird for you to ask him for a signed jersey?
No, it wasn't, because at the Pro Bowl they give you these footballs where the whole team signs it. So we got that. So I kind of let down my guards, like, hey, I already got a signed ball from everybody. Peyton, let me get that jersey after practice, and he signed it and he gave it to me. And awesome. I still got it.
That is awesome. So you go to the Pro Bowl as a rookie. You're just living life. You just can't wait for year number 2. And, you know, then your second season rolls around. 5 games, 5.5 sacks. You're on fire.
Yeah.
And then you're popped for PEDs.
Right.
And everybody's like, oh, here we go. That explains everything.
Yeah.
Combine numbers. The guy's juicing. He's suspended 4 games. What was going through your head when that comes down?
You know, I think because of the times that everybody was getting hit for PEDs, not in football, but in other sports.
Right.
I think that at the time, like Barry Bonds.
Baseball was big in baseball.
And I was like, damn, man, like, you know, this is not the case. This is a supplement. I, you know, sent everything into the NFL, and they said, hey, it doesn't matter. You still put it in your body, right? So they seen what happened. They know what happened. But they said, whatever you put in your body, it's on you. And I said, guys, cut me some kind of break. Give me a game. You know, take the checks. Just let me play or something.
Right.
They said it doesn't work like that. And what still to this day, I always thank Roger Goodell for this, because he always thought that was unfair. that I was getting portrayed that way as getting grouped in to everything that was going on. And he came out with his own personal, and I didn't ask him to, he just did on his own, that I tested clean 17 out of 18 times. And I've been tested 18 times in that time frame between my first and second year, and I've never been, positive.
And Roger came out and said that publicly.
Yeah, it's public. You can find it still. And I didn't ask him to. He just did it. He just felt it was bad. It was so bad that I was getting.
Because you're getting a lot of heat.
I was getting. I mean, it was. That was the first time where I was. It was on CNN. That was like. I was like, what? What am I doing on CNN?
You're like, this isn't Sports Center. This is CNN cable news network.
It was so big. It was on CNN, and I was sitting there, and I'll never forget. And I was sitting with a couple of my teammates. And they're just giving me hell, right? I mean, like, because they know that I'm mad and I'm pissed off and I'm like stressed out, and they're laughing because they tried to make me feel better from the situation because I really felt bad at the time about that happening, but it was nothing I can do. NFL said, look, this is what you did. You took a supplement that was on the list. There was a banned substance on the list. It's on you. And I said, okay, cool. So I said, I went down to Katrina. It was around the same time that Katrina in New Orleans happened. So I actually did make some good of that, man. I spent the week out in New Orleans, and I helped rebuild and clean up and stuff like that after Katrina. So, I just try to make some good use of my time. But the whole time I said, as soon as I get back, I'm smacking heads. I'm so pissed off that I want to just go off on everybody.
Well, you couldn't. So at the time, you couldn't go to the facility. And this is one of the rules that the NFL has had for a long time that I don't like. I don't like when guys are suspended, they can't come to the facility. And I think they've massaged that rule a little bit.
Yeah.
Because really, truth be told, no matter what it is, whether it's a supplement or whether it's alcohol abuse or whatever it is, weed, which they've obviously lightened the marijuana testing policy now, you want moral support. You need to be around the team and have people there who are going to help you. But you weren't able to go to the facility, so you go to New Orleans, you try to make the best of it.
Right.
And then when you come back, you go off. And this is in the midst of a remarkable regular season for the Chargers.
Yeah.
You guys finished 14-2. So when you got back, what was the mindset?
So what happened was I tested positive during the offseason. I never tested positive during the season. I tested positive during the offseason. And it takes, I think, a month or two for the test to come back. So I ended up getting a letter from the NFL after we played the Raiders my second year. The first game of the season, I came back in my locker and the FedEx was right there.
Oh, the FedEx envelope. Those are the worst.
Yeah, I mean, FedEx always scared me to this day when I see FedEx. And so I had FedEx in there, and we were trying to figure out and look at the schedule and say, hey, which games do I want to take the 4-game suspension?
Right. Because you could appeal it and kind of work it to your advantage, so you could,
Okay. So we wanted to just appeal it to, and also too, I wanted to see if there was any leniency into what happened.
Right.
It was part of that too. I wanted to say, look, here are the supplements. You guys got it.
Give me 2 games instead of 4.
Give me 2
maybe.
games.
Right.
Give me 1 or 2. Do something. Just don't give me the whole thing. And it was no leniency on that. They came down on me. So I ended up taking it during weeks of we were playing Cincinnati and Cleveland and those teams. I think when we played maybe one team that was over 500 at the time. And I came back into, I think the Bills were my first game back, actually.
Right.
And I had a couple of sacks there. But this whole time I'm walking around, it's pent up energy in me now because I'm just watching the news. And it's, he's only good because of this. And I wanted to make sure that they knew that this wasn't the case. I'm going to come back and go off, and I did. But yeah, so that was it. And I went to the Pro Bowl also that year, led the league in sacks.
17 sacks that
17.
season in 12 games.
Yeah, 17 sacks in 12 games, and I probably should have had even more than that. But they made a rule that you can't go to have postseason awards if you get suspended.
Okay, I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, at the same time. So it was always still there, but and then I have the mindset that I'm going to go out and prove people wrong again, and I followed the next season up with double-digit sacks again.
Right.
So yeah, it was tough, man, but it was a learning lesson for me because it was like my first dose into seeing like that, being that light and having to deal with it and have to try to figure it out and overcome it. I had to figure that out.
That was not just adversity. That was really the first kind of negative press that you have experienced, right, in college or as a professional.
Right. So I had to really deal with it, man, and it was tough at the time. But me, I'm never gonna stay down. I don't have that in me to do it. Like nothing can happen while I'm just gonna stay down. And my whole time thinking, I was planning on what I was going to do when I got back. How many sacks was I going to pull off when I got back? And that's why the first game I had 2 or 3 as soon as I got back, and I had a few more after that. So
it was a lot more after that. Like I said, 17, and that was a crazy year for you guys. Like LaDainian Tomlinson had 1,800 rushing yards and 28 TDs that year, and you guys finished the regular season 14-2, and then you lose to the Patriots in the divisional round, which must have been a huge kick in the balls.
Oh my God! Yeah.
After that year, and that was Marty's last year there.
Right.
And then Norv comes in the next year, and you have another good year there, and then the injury set in, and then it's prior to, I believe it was 08 when you got that knee injury. Was that camp or was that?
So in 07, we were playing the Titans, and I don't talk about it too much because I actually. So in 07, we were playing the Titans, and I ran into Vince Young, and I broke his ribs in that game when we played them. And Coach Fisher and the staff had thought I had hit him illegally.
Okay.
Not knowing that Vince Young was a friend of mine. We same publicists. I've known Vince very well, so it's less likely that I'm going to go hit.
Right. You weren't trying to hurt him intentionally.
Anyway, but he did get hurt. So I felt I was targeted, and I was. I mean, I was 100% targeted. Kevin Mawai and the other offensive tackle there, they jumped on my knee, and I tore my PCL and LCL. And so people didn't know because I always had this thing with laying on the field. I would
hop up right away?
I would hop up no matter what. I've never been taken off the field in an injury. I've always walked off. I've never had a timeout from boys club on up. I just had this thing where no one was ever going to see me in pain. So I would always get up and walk off the field. And I tore my knee. I mean, my knee was shattered. The PCL, LCL was completely, and MCL was very loose. I sat out the week after, and I ended up playing 4 more games after that, but they had to brace my knee up because we had an opportunity to go to the Super Bowl. So my head, there was no way I was missing the rest of this year and possibly missing the chance to play in the Super Bowl.
Right.
So I taped that knee up, I braced it up, and now my knee was just sliding all around in the games. It was one of the most...
Just no stability.
It was no stability. It was like a table with 3 legs on it. And every time I put my knee in the ground, my knee would just shift forward and back. And they would try to brace it up as much as they can. And they would try to give me some pain medicine or give me some anti-inflammation stuff just to get through it and whatever at the time. And it was just it was painful. But it's funny. Kevin Mawai and I, we talked a few years ago at the Hall of Fame game, and he came up and he apologized, and it wasn't intentional. And we squashed it, But for years after that happened, I had a grudge, against him. I had a grudge against Jeff Fisher and the organization
because you thought that was a cheap shot that they took out on you.
Cheap shot, and it was, but I don't think their intent was to hurt me. But that's what happened. So once my knee, practically it's a full knee reconstruction that I had. Then I just started having things after that. My Achilles tore after that, compensating too much and just having this little stuff that I didn't have any control over anymore. So I got let go out of San Diego at the time and went to Buffalo, which I was screaming I did not want to go.
Talk about a change of scenery.
Oh, man. So, when you get cutting waived.
You have to clear waivers. Somebody can claim you, right?
So, that year, I had like 4 or 5 teams that claim me off of waivers. The problem is that Buffalo had an 0-7 record.
So they had first priority on the waiver list. So they had
first priority. So Buddy Nix, who was, I believe the second or third in command of GM, general manager there when he was in San Diego. He was there with the Chargers.
Okay.
And now he was the general manager in Buffalo. Love Buddy to death, even to this day. Buddy called me and said, "Shawne, we want you out here with the Bills." I said, "Buddy, I love you. You do know that. I ain't coming, right?" "Buddy, I'm not coming." And he said, "Well, we need your leadership in here. We need your passion, and then all these other great things. I said, buddy, I thank you. I appreciate it, but I'm still not coming. I don't care. I'm not coming at you guys. I said, it's nothing against Buffalo. It's the fact that you guys are 0-7 and you got no shot at going to the playoffs. Let me go to a team where I have a shot to play, and then let's talk after the season about me coming to Buffalo.
Right.
But I in the middle of the season, let me get an opportunity to go and play for a team that has a winning record and has a chance to go to the playoffs. I think that year, Buffalo, Miami, wasn't Tennessee. It was 2 other teams who also claimed me, and I think two or three had winning records. So I said, buddy, let me go there, and let's talk after the season. I don't mind coming to Buffalo, just not now. Well, Shawne, it didn't matter. We're putting in your contract, and
so you didn't have a choice. If you wanted to play, you had to go to Buffalo.
Yeah. So I said, buddy, I hear you. I appreciate you. I love you. I appreciate the city of Buffalo. I'm not coming. He said, well, if you don't come, it's $10,000 a day that you don't show up. I said, what time that plane coming?
So you go to Buffalo, and then did you retweak your Achilles in the very first workout?
It was when I tore my Achilles initially through the season, it was 25% torn. When I tore it again, it was 35% torn. But the problem is, same thing with what Richard Sherman had.
Right.
So what the doctors told, and they told me the same thing back then. What the doctors won't do is do surgery on it unless they absolutely have to, and it has to be over a certain percentage mark. They almost, in a sense, want you to go out and tear that damn thing so they can do it. And that's what happened with Richard Sherman. He played on a partially torn Achilles for some time until he eventually went out there and tore it completely. And I got it to about 65% torn. They was like, you know what, that's enough. So that happened on my first or second day there. So I went in. They still wouldn't do the surgery still. But the following year they did, because I finally got it to 75%. So it was almost practically just completely torn.
So you're just battling the whole time trying to get that to heal, and then it kind of tears a little bit more, and then it finally gets to the point.
It was a grueling process where I had to just deal with that over and over again. And finally it tore enough where they went in, and Dr. Anderson in North Carolina, who's a great foot and ankle doctor, had went in and did the surgery.
Wow. So you after the surgery, you come back and you play a season and a half there, basically, in Buffalo?
Yeah, about a season and a half, yeah.
And did you kind of know you weren't right and it was winding down? And
yeah, for me, it wasn't any more that I couldn't play. It was the fact that they got rid of the entire coaching staff, right? So I just built myself back up, and I got back on the field, and now you got to come in, and they already had, I think, 2 coaching switches while I was there as far as certain positions and whatnot. And to go back in at, about to be 29, 30 years old and try to, and with the injuries that I had, and try to force my way in playing again, I said, that's it. I don't have anything else to prove. That's it. Unless, I was going to get put in a situation where I can go to a team and possibly win a Super Bowl, and they wanted me to come in and be more of a role player, or somebody that a leader in the locker room, somebody that can go out and kind of be a coach on the field type of deal. Mm-hmm. That was it for me. It was nothing else for me to prove. I mean, I've already played at the highest level, and the only thing that I can do at that point was get a ring. I had other opportunities that was waiting on me to be done with football. And, WWE was one of them. And broadcasting and being in entertainment was one of them. So for me, I was ready to go. It was my time to be done.
So 28 years old, you call it. Was WWE ever something that you really considered pursuing extensively?
Oh yeah, that was going to be the plan. That was, when I got done, that was going to be the plan to eventually end up with the WWE, because at that time I had already did a few pay-per-views for them. And I also ended up going down to Orlando to their new facility,
the training center,
the performance center, and training down there. So that was going to be the case. So I was going to spend time at NFL Network at the time of where I was at, and I was going to spend the other time down in Orlando.
I remember that, right?
Training down at the facility. And, I got this little company called Lights Out that everybody loves and wants to be a part of. So there was more disputes that they wanted ownership of Lights Out.
Who wanted ownership of
WWE.
Really?
Yeah. And that I wasn't okay with at the time. also too, the WWE network was just starting out, and they had a bunch of
Their digital network.
Their digital network was going on. So that was always going to be something that was a possibility anyway.
Right.
You know.
So did you said, all right, maybe down the road? Is that something you could revisit?
Yeah, that's what it was. And I hosted a lot of the Monday Night Raws as a broadcaster. I've traveled with them to different states and different cities and whatnot, and trying to work it, but it got too much where I was like trying to get back to LA and trying to get back down to Florida, and I was like, geez, man, this is a lot. And people don't know those guys, those superstars, they travel 200 plus days a year.
It's a traveling roadshow.
So when you do that, that's all you do, unless you have some sort of deal worked out with WWE.
Right.
But I would have had to train down there and go back and forth for 6 months from Florida to LA. And I did that a few times, and we did it over and over again. And it was just too much. It was a lot. But I do regret not going through with it at least for a year or two, or a few years, and just doing it because I wanted to be in that arena so bad. That's what I wanted to do.
Why?
Because I've always been in entertainment. I've built from 16 years old, been called Lights Out, and it was a part of branding, as a part of who I was, and kind of building the character in a way.
Right.
And I've always had a mindset to kind of venture down that way more than anything.
So now you're doing. What do you spend the most time on? I listen to, Joe Rogan has the most popular podcast in the world, and he's had Elon Musk on a couple of times, and to me that's must listen because Elon's obviously just one of the smartest dudes in the world, but he's also very eccentric, and he always talks about, I spend 3% of my time on this, and 20% of my time on this, and 10% of my time here. What are you spending most of your time on these days?
Before the pandemic kicked in, it was the MMA league.
Yeah.
With Lights Out Extreme Fighting, because I'm passionate about it. I'm dressed now in my workout clothes. I'm gonna go spar down in Long Beach, in Compton here at Black House soon. And I spar 3-4 days a week. I love being around the guys. I've always been, since I was 10 years old, in the locker room around a team setting. So when you're not playing sports anymore, you're like, what's going on? You're not competing. There's nobody to kind of talk crap to every day and kind of get your motor going. And so that's first and foremost. I like being around the guys, but also on the business side of it, because I was fortunate enough to play in the NFL, I learned a lot. And when it comes to TV contracts, it'll come to being in the community and being active, and just the way that the NFL has done things over the last how many years. And then me being in the NFL for 8 years, taking that same approach to what I'm doing now. All the sponsorship I'm bringing in, the TV I'm bringing in, and being able to sit down with my partners and strategize on the fights, and being able to talk to certain casinos that we're, all the casinos and deals we do.
That you're partners with.
That I'm partners with, yeah. So that part is they tell you to do something that you love to do, so you don't feel like you're working. Like, I don't feel like I'm working with that. I get a chance to train with these MMA guys 3-4 days a week, and I'm going to negotiate a TV deal or a casino deal or a venue deal with whoever we're talking to. That to me is just not work, and that's something that I do the most. Now with the brand, with Lights Out, the clothes and stuff like that, because I am so involved with the MMA league, I've got involved with the licensing part of it. So I have 4 licensing partners that one back in Maryland, Lights Out Billiards, Lights Out Poker, and Lights Out Cornhole that's coming here.
Cornhole?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So,
all right.
But it's partners of mine. It's through licensing companies where they're going to, have these companies up and running, and I'm just kind of going to support them and be at the events. And obviously, I'm playing cornhole for sure.
Hold on. So there's a Lights Out Cornhole board. It's just going to have the Lights Out logo?
Well, it's a team. They're teams.
Oh, you're going to sponsor a team?
Yeah, I'm going to sponsor a team, and it's through my licensing deals. And because back in 2006, I bought the name and rights Lights Out.
Right.
And I've been fortunate enough to build that company enough where now people reach out to me for potential licensing deals and stuff like that. So for me, it's worked out great.
So I keep waiting for Lights Out to pop. You have all this gear, you have this product. Can we buy it in stores? Where do we see it?
Yeah, so it was in actually Tilly's for about 2.5, almost 3 years.
Yeah.
And like I said, man, I tried to do so much, and it was never going to pop unless I started to partner it up and get involved with these licensing companies.
Right.
That was the only way, because the licensing companies who I'm involved with, who are my partners now, this is all they do. You know, they build these companies up, and
they specialize
in this. And you know, I kind of help them and guide them, but I'm not really as hands-on as much when it comes to them.
Right.
And yeah, so you'll see it pop, but what's really going to pop is Lights Out Extreme Fighting here in the next, you know, a year or two. We're going to be there because we have a bunch of former athletes transitioning over from other sports, rugby and football, and track. We have female track starters possibly coming over that people know. So I want to.
Do we get a little tease here? You're not going to tell us the name?
You know what? I don't mind throwing it out there, but I got to make sure they are.
Okay, I understand.
They still got a little track running left to do, a little bit of career, so they don't want to upset their coaches just yet. They're going to be coming fighting. But you know, that's, like I said again, that to me is fun. Transitioning these athletes over from one sport to the next.
I love it, man. How about a quick 2-minute drill? I just got a couple of quick hitters I want to throw out at you, and then we'll let you go, because I know you got to go punch some dudes in the face here in a few minutes.
Oh, get punched, yeah.
All right, 2-minute drill. One date, one night, one celeb. Who would that celeb be?
Probably Holly Berry.
Oh man, that's an oldie but goodie. I feel like that's been the answer since I was a kid. You know, I mean, for 20 years, so good. Last thing you Googled. You can look at your phone if you want.
I don't know.
This might be dangerous. This is always my favorite. Vrabel said, I Googled plane tickets to Ohio to go see my parents. I go, that's a good one, Vrabes. I don't know if that's true. That's good. That's good. What was the last thing you Googled?
No, actually, when the bars and stuff, for the pandemic, when the bars and stuff are opening back, or when they close them back down again.
Yeah, they just shut it down. The bars and the beaches here in LA for 4th of July weekend. Hardest hit that you've delivered?
Probably my rookie year to Priest Holmes.
Okay.
We were playing them, and he took a big hit. He never played again after that.
Priest Holmes, hell of a running back.
Yeah, he's one of my favorites.
Hardest hit that you've received?
Low nil.
That was it.
That was it.
For sure.
You know, it's funny. A lot of people think that
MJD. That's a good one, because I had MJD on it.
Yeah. So you know, I think it's funny because the hit wasn't hard at all. I just didn't see him.
Yeah.
And you know, and people call him small, but it's nothing really small about him. He is thick, man. And you know, that wasn't really a big hit, but he caught me because I didn't see. He was so low, and he just popped up under my chin like, "Hey!" And that's the last thing I remember. And I remember getting up like real quick, and I didn't think it was bad until I saw the replay of it, because it was on it made world news that night. So, but still, low nil.
Okay, all right, yeah, because the year you were at NFL Network, we rolled that out. I felt like about every week, especially when MJD was around.
Oh, for sure.
Rolled that out all the time.
Yeah, of course they had to bring that one up.
All right, last one. One do-over in life.
Probably to take things slower, right? Like my rookie year when I came in, and to my second year, like your NFL is so fast. Just slow down. That would
enjoy the moment more?
That would be because you don't understand and realize how fast it goes. Even now, I sit back and I think, man, I played with LaDainian Tomlinson, Antonio Gates, Lorenzo Neal, Phillip Rivers, you know, Vincent Jackson, Jamal Williams, you know, so all these guys who, you know, I just go through my head.
Yeah.
And it felt like it happened in 6 minutes. And so just slow it down, man, and just enjoy what's going on there at the moment.
Enjoy the ride. It's not always the destination, it's the journey. Shawne Merriman, thanks, buddy. I appreciate the time.
You got it, man. Anytime, brother.